You say you're not really seeing any impact on users despite a weakening in the economy, although clearly the great jobs report today muddles that a little bit. Do you expect that to kick in at some point?
I don't think so. I mean, gaming is historically resilient to any kind of macroeconomic condition. So our expectation is we'll continue to see strong, healthy cohorts. So far, everything we're seeing in the data, we've looked at it in a number of ways. Actives, frequency of play, average revenue, average bet size, and everything looks great.
What is the relationship, Jason, between sports betting and the stock market and sports betting and crypto?
I think there's certainly a lot of overlap amongst people who are interested in those things. Obviously, stock market is a massive, has a massive audience both on the institutional side and retail traders. And I think in a lot of ways, being able to make a prediction and see whether that prediction actually plays out and have a little bit of money on the line, that's a commonality. But, for us, it's really about making sure that, the experience we're providing on the betting side for our customers is entertaining. I think a difference with stock investing is people are looking at it as investing. Not as much as entertainment.
What about crypto, Jason? I'm just curious because what we saw was obviously during the pandemic a huge pickup in sports betting and a huge pickup in crypto, and obviously the meme story going through into stocks. What we're seeing at the moment, obviously, is huge amounts of volatility in stocks. We're seeing, obviously, crypto coming down quite sharply, yet sports betting is holding up. What I'm trying to do is understand the correlations between all of them.
Well, I think it really comes down to, for sports bettors, it's largely about entertainment. Sure, would you like to win some money? Of course. It's not here, I'm going to take something that I would consider savings and invest it, whether it be in crypto or in, the stock market, with a hope that it will create longer-term wealth. Now, obviously, some people trade, but again, I think it's still the same kind of thing. So I think there is a difference there. And when the markets, meaning stock market and crypto markets, got pummeled, I think for a lot of people, having a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of escape, especially in sports, which, I think is such a popular means of escape, has been a nice thing.
Well, and of course, there's the accessibility part of this as well, in that you've seen the markets become more accessible to retail investors through apps like Robinhood, for example, services like it. And we're seeing more accessibility to sports betting in that we've seen a legalization wave really across states. You're based in Boston. What is your confidence about your ability to operate in Massachusetts and getting that sports betting license?
Well, we're obviously, very hopeful the governor will sign the bill shortly. I believe he will. He's been a big supporter of passing such legislation. And then it moves on to the rulemaking and licensing process. And, we've been here for many years, and I think we're a reputable company in the industry, so certainly I would expect us to get a license. And I think we're really well positioned to be able to take very meaningful share here. We have a large DFS database. We've had the only online sports book in New Hampshire for a couple of years now, and I think that a lot of customers who've traveled over the state lines now have from Massachusetts now have the DraftKings app on their phone. We're also known to be a hometown, Boston-based company, and I think for those who've spent any time in Massachusetts or New England, there's very loyal, I think, group of people here who tend to really support Massachusetts and New England-based companies. So we feel like we're in a great position in Massachusetts.
I feel like I'm stepping on Kaylee's toes now because she knows a lot more about the NFL than I do. But how strong is the NFL season going to be, do you think, this year? And what impact do you think it's going to have on your numbers?
Well, the NFL product is just so good right now. I mean, the playoffs last year were just epic. So I think you're going to see huge demand for the NFL. It's, a virtuous sort of relationship between people who play fantasy and bet and watching the game. So I think you're just going to continue to see that flywheel spin. And I'm really excited about this NFL season. It's, this is basically our holiday time coming up. When everyone's taking vacations in August, our team is working hard to prepare for September because that's basically our holiday season.
Yeah, NFL season happens to be my favorite season of the year as well, Jason. And the moves in the offseason, too, are, I think, going to be driving a lot of action, considering Tom Brady threw a wrench into pretty much every bet that was out there. And now I now have Russell Wilson on my Broncos. Talking about just kind of the activity, though, in wagering, as we look at fantasy and what could potentially be a huge NFL season, how much market share do you think you will be able to capture of that relative to the likes of FanDuel?
On the fantasy or on the betting side?
Both.
Fantasy, we continue to enjoy, I think around 60 to 65% market share. I don't think that will change. If anything, I think we might gain a little bit. On the betting side, we're number 2 on both online sports betting and on iGaming. Our goal is to be number 1. So we're looking to gain share this NFL season. And I think that this has historically been a good time of year for us. We tend to perform very strongly in NFL. And I think Q3 and Q4 tend to be periods where we feel like we've been able to gain share in the past. So that's our goal for this time.
And while everybody's watching the games, are they going to be seeing more DraftKings advertisements? We were just having a conversation about advertising budgets in this kind of deteriorating macroeconomic environment. How much are you willing to spend?
Well, I think what's nice is that in the early days, all of our spend was local, which is inherently less efficient because it costs more on a per impression basis. Now that we're at, almost 40% of the U.S. population with legal sports betting, I think we'll be over 40, I hope, at least I shouldn't say I think, I hope we will by the end of the year. We're really able to start shifting into more national advertising. So I think that allows us to continue to be able to be aggressive on the customer acquisition front, on the marketing front, but to do it more efficiently because of the optimization of going national. And that should just keep on continuing to be a tailwind for us, because as more and more, as it goes up to 50%, hopefully 60+%, we don't have to buy new ads in local markets as much. We can continue to lean on the same national ads we've been spending on. So that's been a tailwind we've been talking about for a little while, and it's finally starting to come to fruition this NFL season.
What are you expecting on individual spend? How does it work? How do you see it working going forward? As acquisition goes up, are you seeing those customers that stick with you spending more and more? I'm just curious as to the dynamic as to, once people have been onboarded, how much money they're spending and what the trajectory of that spending looks like.
One of the things we shared in our investor day earlier this year is that a cohort of customers typically increases its spend from year 1 to year 2 and from year 2 to year 3 based on the data we've seen thus far. So really encouraging, and we're seeing nothing different now. So that's great. I think, people get in and as they get more comfortable, they try new sports, they try live betting, they try new types of bets, more parlays. So really, it's something that I think just naturally evolves as people find more things in the betting app that they enjoy doing. We also have been very effective at cross-selling people across products. iGaming's been a big cross-sell. We just launched an NFT-based fantasy game called Rainmakers Football that we're really excited about. That's had excellent cross-sell from our DFS database. So really, I think that whole engine, that whole flywheel has allowed us to continually increase revenue per user as each year has gone on.